Welcome back, everybody, for another Wise Take NASCAR live stream. We're here at the Big Machine Hand Sanitizer 400 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And joined with me always is Tom, father of a newborn child, his 8th kid.
His 3rd. It's all right.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm pretty sure it's 8. But if you're new to this, if you're new to the show, the way the show goes is that we'll go driver by driver breakdown in each price range tier, and then at the end of the show, we'll answer all of your questions. But Tom, how's it going?
Not too bad, man. No sleep, but I'm still here for the Wise Take Nation, man. This is always one of my favorite races. Like growing up, my family was more like an IndyCar family. We watched NASCAR because it was always on the weekends too. But Indy's one of the greatest spectacles in racing. So beautiful, beautiful facility. The track is 2.5 miles. It's pretty much a square. It's got 2 shorter straightaways at each end, and then you've got these huge long straightaways. Cool thing is in DFS, you're looking at Pocono is probably the closest kind of snippet to what this track is like. They're still very different, but the similarities are like the really tight corners, going into these long straightaways and getting those corners right is what's going to get you to be fast here. If you can stay fast into the entry and onto like the short chutes into the next one to where you can carry it down that massive long front straightaway, 2.5 miles. We're going to see some crazy speeds. I think they're up like 185, 190, pretty much average speed. But it's cool. Like I said, Pocono's last week. You had 2 races to watch. You kind of saw some drivers that we knew were going to do good, like Harvick and Hamlin, rise to the top in both races. So that's going to hold some weight here this week. It's almost like you're looking at exactly the same thing you looked at Pocono. You got Harvick starting in like the high single digits, low teens. You expected him to dominate. Same thing with Denny Hamlin starting right around the same spot. So all these expensive guys, it's going to be about getting potentially one of these expensive guys. 2, if you're going a little crazy, probably a 1 to 3 dominator build. Like the last year, Harvick led, I think, 118 or something laps. 2 years before that, Kyle Busch led 150. So, that happens again. You're going to have that guy. That for sure. So, you're going to have to take some stands on these expensive guys. And, like I said, it's a fun race, 160 laps. Not a ton of dominator points, enough that if somebody does go out and get a big chunk of them, they'll pay off. But I think this year, as compared to those, you're probably going to see more like a 2 to 3 dominator race, probably. If it ends up being 3, it's going to probably be one guy like Amarola kind of did for us at Pocono 1, leading like 50, 60 laps, and then you got the other 2 guys leading 20, 30 with some fastest laps sprinkled in. And those guys are going to be some of your cheaper, lower-owned options. So, there's a lot of, ways to play this week, so it's going to be fun. I don't think you're going to see a ton of ties. I mean, it'll still be kind of chalky. There's some pretty chalky plays, but, if like one of those big chunky pieces of chalk go away, like, chalk-ass Eric Jones, again, like this week, like he did in the first or the second one or the first one, you could see him paying off real quick, and then he crushed for you in the second one, starting in the back. So, yeah, man, it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. I'm ready to go.
Let's dive into it. If you haven't already, please subscribe and like button. Thank you very much. But here we go. Into the 10K and up range, we got 5 drivers here. We got Christopher Bell at 11,500, all the way down to Denny Hamlin at 10,100.
So, we looked at Pocono 1 last week, Christopher Bell starting same spot, and it was like, you're like, all right, like that's way too expensive to pay for his price, because he's got to get into like the top 10 or something to pay off. What's he do? Goes out and finishes 4th. So, the lineup that I smashed with last week in Pocono 1 had Bell on, and I got him at like 15, 16%. With these races being similar, I don't think you're going to get him at 15, 16, probably closer to the 20 to 25% range. I think people are going to be willing to take, a stand just because you're able to pray to God that you get like 20 to 25 place differential points and this kid finishes around the top 10. It's not an easy feat, but the same thing with Pocono and Indy is these are all they're like strategy tracks. The races aren't long enough. to really have these huge dominator builds that you need. So these place differential guys are going to easily outscore him. So, I think his performance at Pocono 1 is going to help him a little bit. I still don't think it's going to be astronomical because he is really expensive, but like I said, I could see you getting him at like 20%. Kevin Harvick again, 1-2, all weekend, last weekend at Pocono. So, you're thinking about that. You're like, all right, so I'm going to get 10 place differential points out of Kevin Harvick, and this guy's going to potentially win the race. That's what you're going to need. Harvick, I think, is going to garnish some ownership because people are going to look at like, dude, he should easily finish in the top 5. His average finish here over the last 4 is 4th. So, he's one of the second best. He's really fast this season as well. One of the better drivers. So, and he's in the categories. Like I said, last year he dominated the hell out of this race with like 118 laps. So I could see him being extremely popular. Chase Elliott, not as popular as the other ones. He's starting 10th. He's had some bad luck here in Rex, but when he does do well, he does do well. He was bad on Saturday in Pocono, but was on there on Sunday. So, that's going to hold some weight. He's super fast this season. So I think, again, Elliott's going to garnish some ownership. Probably not as much as Harvick or maybe even Kyle Busch or Denny Hamlin that are less than him. But, I think getting a little bit different if you're spending this money and getting off of some of these chalk plays, if you're trying to play that different in tournaments, I could see you getting some Chase Elliott in there. Kyle Busch, same thing. He's dominated the hell out of this race before with like 150 laps. So you're hoping, starting 7th, that he goes out and does something like that again. Strategy race. So, I could definitely see him garnishing some ownership as well. Denny Hamlin again was amazing last week at Poconos. He first and second, second, first. So average finish at Indio, I think over the last 5 races is like 7th. Pocono again, he's just super fast. The only thing with him, I think people are going to look at the safety of Kevin Harvick and potentially go higher there with him. But Hamlin again, a phenomenal pick. So, like all these guys in the 10K range are viable in their own way.
Gotcha. Let's go down to the 9K range. We got 5 drivers here as well. At Kozlowski at 9,800, down to Clint Bowyer at 9,000.
Yeah, so these guys are, with these starting positions, all of them are going to need some type of dominator potential. Keselowski starting 9th. For him to pay off, you're probably looking like him to sneak up there up front and get you 20, 30 laps led and then finish somewhere around where he started, to pay off as we get a little bit cheaper. So he was great at the second Pocono, not so good at the first one. So, again, that's going to help him garnish some ownership as well. Like I said, I don't think that's the thing. These guys are all going to be in like that 20 to 30-ish%, as far as these lineups go. So, it's going to get the right piece or two up here if you're spending up. Truex, kind of the same thing. I mean, he was horrible last year. I think he blew a tire up. Like it exploded. Oh, it was a brake rotor exploded in the tire and like blew the whole front of the car off. Like it's not the best track for him, but again, he's Martin Truex. So I think he's going to be probably lower owned in this range, starting 8th. You would have liked to see him probably closer to like the 12th, which I think is the worst he could have started anyways. And just hope you would have got a little bit more out of him with those place differential spots. But, as long as he doesn't have any issues, I mean, Martin Truex finishing inside the top 10 is never, out of the question. So you're going to see him. Blaney, again, Blaney's in the same spot every week. Like, he's starting right around here every week, and it's like, okay, you're going to give me, if you win this race, you're giving me 11 place differential points, which you could potentially do. But, he's always going to be probably in that like 15% owned range. Like, again, he was one of the guys you would have liked to have last week in one of the Poconos. He wasn't the greatest, but, with him probably being lower owned, again, it's like Ricky Stenhouse is week to week. Like, he's going to be either super chalk at a super speedway, or he's going to be around that 10 to 15% range because he could go out there and get you top 5 or win the race. So, and let's see what we got left. Logano and Bowyer. So Logano at the pole, I think Logano's safe in the 9K range. It's hard to pass it at Indy. So getting around the leader, especially at the start of the race, usually somebody on the front row is going to lead this race early. So Logano probably being the safer option between him or Kurt Busch, who's starting on the front row. So, And I believe on average the leader, has led like 20 to 25 laps here. It depends on these competition cautions, how that plays out, how strategy plays out. If the race is clean for like the first stage, I could see him being more viable just because you're hoping he can get like 30, 35 laps or something like that and then finish in the top 5. Kind of be the team that's setting the strategy, and if their strategy ends up paying out and not these crazy pit with 5 laps to go because it's green, white, checkered, and half the field stays out, and the people on fresh tires are hoping for an extra, caution late. So that's where you can go with that. And then you've got Clint Bowyer starting 22nd. Has run really well here. I think it's stage win last year. So at starting 22nd at 9K, you're hoping that he gets you inside the top 10, which would probably be enough to pay his price tag off, being right at the low point of the 9K range. I think he's going to be fairly chalk as a place differential play, but again, he's always scary because, there's other cheaper options that are probably better that you're going to want to get to, but, you want to get a little bit different, you put him up against somebody like Eric Jones, who's going to be super chalk. It's like if you wanted to take only one piece of those two, like which one are you going to get the edge with? I think, Jones being cheaper is going to be much more higher owned. So, if you can spend the up for almost the exact same thing and in slightly better equipment, I would say, not crazy better equipment, but a little bit better. You could get, a piece of that, and that's going to be different. Probably somewhere in like that 20 to 25% range, but it's going to have the right pieces of chalk. And, we're hoping for these tournaments that one of those super big pieces of chalk fails and, we went underweight.
Definitely.
So we got left Byron? No, we're already through that, right? No, we still got Byron.
Yeah, we got to that. Yeah, Byron's in the 8K range. Let's go down to the 8K range, though. We got only 4 drivers here, with Jimmy Johnson having to withdraw, doing tested positive. But we got Byron at 8,700, down to Alex Bowman at 8,000.
Yeah, none of these guys are going to be ridiculous. I think these are going to be kind of like your guys in the higher 9K range where it's like 15 to 20%. Byron, you love the place differential upside. You hope he can go out there and maybe steal you something inside the top 10 at $8,700. He's going to be there. MDB, not as Byron's probably the safer play over MDB, but that dude's quick here. This is the best equipment he's ever been in. It's kind of like what we've been saying about him all season. It's either hit or miss for the season. He's either the guy that finishes, starts around here, finishes inside the top 5 in your cash and checks all the way to the bank, or he finishes around where he started, and maybe he goes out there somehow on, strategy. Like the top 14 drivers decide to pit and he decides to stay out to get stage points or something like that. I could see him paying off $8,300 if he finishes in, say, the top 10, top 12 with a handful of laps led. Eric Jones, just because he's cheap again. I mean, they priced him up a little bit, but Eric Jones starting 23rd with this dynamic pricing, I would expect to see him closer to like the 9 to 9,500 range. But that just makes him, a super huge piece of chalk. When I crushed on Saturday, it was because I didn't have Eric Jones, who finished 36th. I'm saying, and he was at like 60%. So after that, like you took that stand, it's, you're either going to need to, like I said, if you're playing small entry, cash games and stuff like that, like you're going to play Eric Jones on most of your lineups, like just because he's safe and he's cheap, to help you stuff in some of these expensive pieces. And then, like I said, we do have some fairly chalk value that's down there in the 7s and 6K range that you're going to want to get some pieces of as well. So, it's going to be easy with pieces like him and plug and play. So I could see him probably being one of the higher guys, 35, 40%, just because people look at it as a free square, because if Eric Jones runs like he should at track like this, he should be inside the top 10. You get 13 place differential points at $8,100. That's enough for him. Alex Bowman, probably the dart throw of the 8K range. He's been decent. I know I was talking to G-Tuck in the Slack before the race, and he's saying that he likes the Hendrick cars. And I have to agree. Chevy's been faster, so, he's one of those guys that if you're going to play him, he's going to be lower owned. You're probably going to see him, in like the 10 to 15% range. He's finished 7th and 6th here, or 7th and 16th in Green Flag Speed of Pocono. So, you go out and give me a 7th place Green Flag Speed performance. and you somehow steal a handful, 15, 20 dominator points and finish and save the top 10, he could pay off that price tag for sure. But like I said, I don't think he's going to be super crazy high owned, but if you like the Hendrick cars, I like the fact that there's a chance if somehow he can get around the leaders in the beginning stage of this race, he could lead the first few laps. But again, it's going to be tough. He's going to have to get a nice jump on the start and somehow almost dive bomb probably into turn 2 or something like that to get a pass done on the first lap. But it's always a shot. And if he does that, at 10 to 15% owned tops, like it could be a huge difference maker if he could finish close up there. And if, they said it's a long race and distance, not really that long of a race and distance, not that many laps. So, it's not like he's got to be out there too long. And an 8K at starting third, it's worth a shot.
Yeah. But let's transition to the 7K. Now we got 6 drivers here with Matt Kenseth at 7,900 down to Bubba Wallace at 7,000 flat.
Yeah. So again, these are the pieces that I think you're going to have to get a little bit different with. Like if you're building your teams, like you could go for some safety with these expensive guys, and then you could dabble down here with your ownership plays. Kenseth starting 21st, you kind of like the place differential upside. Starting there, if he can get you somewhere really close to the top 10, I could see him paying off, that $7,900 price tag. Caught back up here. There we go. But he's been vocal, just like with Kyle Busch. He wishes he had practice. He feels like if he had practice in qualifying, he'd be better. So starting 21st, he's worth a shot. Like I said, he's not going to be crazy high owned, probably 15, 20 at the most. But that's what you're going to need in some of these guys. Tyler Reddick, starting 13th, it's like, and at 7,700, if he can finish around there, probably he's going to pay off 7,700. But, uphill battle for him. In large field, like 150 entry maxes, you're going to get some pieces of them, but you're doing a 20 entry max and you want to keep your player pool tight. He could be an X out for you. Kurt Busch, you're getting a huge savings. It was like him and Joe Logano, $1,700. It's like, and Kurt Busch decides to go out on the start, gets the jump on the start, and he's the guy that gets out there and leads part of the first stage of this this race, and even finishes inside the top 10 after leading like 15 or 20. You could see him paying off a $7,500 price tag for sure. Same thing with Eric Amarola. He started on the pole for Pocono 1, crushed with 60-something laps led. You're getting him starting 5th. He's worth a shot. Like I said, he's the one that helped me. I'm literally playing the same lineup that I crushed with last week, and I'm playing the exact same lineup as long as I can make it work out. I haven't tried to put it in yet, but I'll play that exact same lineup again and see what happens. And then we've got Ricky Stenhouse starting as deep as he could have started with his points. He's inside the top 24 in points, but he's starting 24th, which is deep. Ricky Stenhouse, if he doesn't crash, is going to go out and probably get you something close to the top 10. Top 10, top 15 at his price tag would probably pay off. But again, he's never safe. He's Recce for a reason. So you're taking a shot there. Same thing with Bubba Wallace, starting pretty far forward for him. He was decent, I think, in the Poconos. Didn't get the finishes he wanted. Started 22nd, finished 20th. Started 23rd, finished 22nd. So still getting you 25 fantasy points. That's not going to get it done. But the Geico 500, the Dixie Vodka, you said 17th, finished 13th, got you 35. That's kind of what I think we're going to need. So, you hope that, but you're playing Bubba Wallace because you're hoping for something close to the top 12, top 13 to potentially pay off at 7K. So he's worth a shot. Don't think he's going to be super high owned either. So these, like I said, these pieces down in the 8s and 7s, it depends on how safe the expensive pieces you got are, or if you're trying to get weird on the expensive pieces, go with the safer cheap pieces. You know what I'm saying? To try to balance yourself out.
Yep. If you're enjoying the show, please subscribe and hit that like button. That'd be greatly appreciated. But let's go into the 6K range. We got Ty Dillon at 6,800, down to Daniel Suarez at 6,100.
Yeah, you're gonna, when you start getting into this price, you're gonna hope to God you only need like one piece down here. It depends on how balanced you're going. Ty Dillon was the piece that I had wrong, even in my, I finished sixth and still won like $1,200 in the $4 single entry, or the $4.20 entry max. And he was the piece that I had right. And when I was leading with like 35 laps to go and them getting ready to cycle through the last set of pit stops, and I'm like sweating because I'm like, oh my God, I have the lineup. All they got to do is cycle through these pit stops and I got this. And then Ty Dillon takes, a little bit of damage in the rear quarter and ends up finishing 29th. Still didn't crush me. Still finished sixth, but like if you would have finished in like the top 15, I would have smashed. Would have won 10K last week, and would have been right in time for my kid. Would have been great. You're gonna need that money for these hospital bills. He's okay here. He goes out and gets you something inside the top 20. He pays off, but again, he's not safe. He's just been slow. So I think you're gonna play him, depending on if you have to get down here. I don't hate him. I think he's probably one of the, I guess, quote unquote, safer plays in the 6K. But again, he's by no means safe just because his recent form's been, I would have wanted a little bit more. His brother, Austin Dillon, he's just hit or miss. Like starting 16th, I think Austin Dillon somehow on, like I said, a strategy, like we were talking before the race. Austin Dillon's going to need to somehow get some strategy, get it like 10, 15 laps led and finish around here. Would probably be one of the ways he could get there. Like I said, he's good or he's not. So, you're taking a stab with him kind of like Ricky Stenhouse. If he finishes, he could finish well, but, pit road penalties, things like that have nipped him in the ass before. Then you got Justin Allgaier making his, Cup Series debut. I have to double check. I think he might even be starting in the rear because of the driver's change. If he scored from fourth, he's an easy, there's enough X out. I know I was thinking beforehand, like, starting fourth, he's cheap, like, he's decent in Xfinity. He'd have to finish, like, say, top 10, probably to potentially pay off down here. So if you want to take a shot at Justin Allgaier, it's going to be super low owned, but, it's his first race. This kid goes out and wins, I guarantee he's in Jimmy Johnson's car next year to replace him. So we'll see. You got Chris Buescher, Ross Chastain, Cole Custer, Daniel Suarez is what we got left in the 6K. All these guys are, I guess, kind of safe in their own way. Chris Buescher, you start in 20th. Chris Buescher goes out and gets you top 15, top 20 at this price he could pay off. And like I said, with it being a strategy race, if he gets the strategy right, he's there. He's finished 15th or better in 3 out of 4 races here. So, he's cheap. I see people coming down here to Buescher just based on track history. Ross Chastain, you're looking at 32nd. Not the same kind of equipment that he was in a couple of races last year. He's in, slower cars. Starting 32nd, you're going to need probably into the deep 20s, maybe get you 10 place differential points to get you there. So that's why I think people probably turn to Buescher. And then you got Cole Custer, finished in the top 20 of both Poconos, is about all you can really say for him. Not super fast. He's somebody you could easily play on. He's a cheap place differential play, and he's going to be popular just because he's safe. And then Suarez, even starting 37th, you're going to probably need 10 to 12 from him to pay off. And like I said, this is a track that's got we get a handful of cautions here, 7-8 cautions a race. I've seen some, green, white checkers a couple of times here with these guys wrecking on the restarts, trying to get to the front. So, something like that happens and we lose 8-10 cars, Suarez could pay off if he can even finish the race. But that's all you're going to pretty much need from him to pay off. Like I said, these 6K ranges, you're going to probably have a piece. But if you're trying to build, I'm thinking like 6,500 and below, you're going to probably, even just under 7K, you're going to try to have, no more than 2. And if you're able to build balance enough and only get one of these guys down here, I think you're going to be doing pretty well.
Gotcha. But anybody under 6K really get you going?
All these guys too. Like now so that we got the safe plays or the 6K range, and then now you've got the not so safe cheap plays. Like so, you want really balanced up top. You could get in some of these pieces. Ryan Newman starting 14th at $5,900. He's worth a stab if you're trying to get different and cheap. If you get the different cheap piece and he goes out there and gets you like 7X, like you're cashing check. So him. You can always take a shot with Ryan. You're open for probably a top 6, 7. Like he only has to get you 4, 5, 6 spots to pay off his price. So you might go there. Your boy Ryan Preece, starting 36. He's deep. Like if this race gets wrecky or Ryan Preece just kind of pulls his head out of his ass, like he could finish in the top 20, 25. So you could go there. Like I said, these 6K plays were safer, but you can get weird. Michael McDowell was one of the pieces that hit for. Pocono on Saturday. He started right around here, finished 8th. $5,700. I'll take a piece of that. Corey LaJoie, 31st. He's just deep. He's like Ryan Preece. He's safer because he's deeper, but he's in shittier equipment. So I'd rather go with like a McDowell. I'd rather play the 3 guys above him than LaJoie. But you could potentially go there. And then John Hunter Nemechek's probably the very last I'd go. I mean, even Nemechek's not going to get too much ownership. At $5,400, if he gets you close to the top 10, he pays off. And like I said, I don't think you're going to get him at super high ownership. And then, the rest of these duds, I mean, try not to play them. It's been getting a little bit closer, kind of, with these races being a lot wreckier the last 6, 7, 8 races. It's the last 5, really. The last 5 races have gotten a little bit more wild. So, you really like your other 5, you could go there. I don't think it's worth going there on FanDuel. If you're doing it on DraftKings, literally anybody under probably Ryan Newman, nothing more than 1 piece in that range. But again, if you got your top 5 that you like and you have like $5,400, like you could get in here, these 55, even LaJoie, McDowell's, like you could get in here, but try to really limit your exposure. And especially once you get past like Nemechek, or even Nemechek a little bit, you're hoping for not so much, but in decent equipment. And then the rest of these guys, like I said, it's only if you really like the rest of the pieces you have, and then you just kind of pick one out of here and just hope to God the race gets really wrecky. All 5 of your other drivers survive, finish well like they're supposed to, and you were able to take a piece here because the guy starts 38th, 39th, 40th, and finishes 30th. So you don't need a whole ton at that price, so you could get in there. But probably if I had to fade anybody in that range completely, probably the 3 cheapest guys. I wouldn't even go any lower than Quinn Hoof, Smithley 28th, Poole 26th, and Joey Gase 25th. It's going to be harder for them to finish there than it is for them to finish worse than there. So you could probably X those guys out. So like if you only had $4,700 left in your lineup and you had 1 guy left, like you're in a weird spot. You're going to get these guys at like 1, 2, 3% owned. So who knows? I mean, if you have to, you have to. But I'd try to stay away from those guys if at all possible.
Gotcha. But let's still conclude the driver-by-driver breakdown section. Let's get to the questions. As long as the questions are rolling in, we'll stay here. OS asks, fade Hamlin and Harvick and go with Kozlowski and Blaney, DK, GPP.
You're trying to get weird? Yeah. I mean, you can do that. Like I said, Kozlowski and Blaney, Penske owns a track. You're going to be different because I think a lot of people are going to have a piece of Hamlin or Harvick. But, yeah, I don't hate it. Like I said, if you choose to go really kind of lower owned with like Kozlowski and Blaney as your potential dominators, then you can probably play a little bit safer on your your value guys, and you should be able to play that. So, yeah, I don't hate that lineup at a GPP for sure.
Gotcha. OS also asks, must play DK GPP besides Preece or McDowell?
You're astronomically owned guys. You're going to slide. Eric Jones is going to be in there. Who else? Clint Bowyer, I think, is going to garnish some pretty decent ownership. The thing that a chalk Preece and McDowell always scare me. You know what I'm saying? So, like, if you're taking stands in GPPs, like if you're doing mass entry, don't go crazy with those pieces together. I'd probably try to break them up on most, but it's also safe to play them together. But, if you're building like 4 or 5 teams and you want to make that the base of your 4 or 5 teams, I don't hate it, but I definitely, if I was doing like 4 or 5 teams, I'd have at least 1 or 2 with, out each other. to get just a little bit different with those guys.
Gotcha. Tim Peters says he was a $3 3 max winner last week.
Congrats, Timmy. Yeah, it was awesome. Good week last week. Yeah.
Jeremy Duggan, Harvick, Jones, Bowyer, Bell, Custer for FanDuel cash. And would you prefer Custer or Newman for cash?
Custer's safer for cash. I think that lineup that you have there is going to be pretty popular. Bell's a free square over there. Starting that deep in the field at his price, he doesn't need to do anything. So, and then Jones is cheap again. I like the place differential for Bowyer. I like the Dominator for Harvick. I mean, the Dominator points don't mean too much, but Harvick goes out from where he's starting and wins the race or finishes in the top 3. He's going to pay off on FanDuel. Newman's getting a little different. Like I said, you're not asking a whole lot out of Newman. Like at his price, let me check out his FanDuel price. I know he's cheap. Yeah, you're getting Newman at $7,300. I like that price. I mean, if he finishes where he started at $7,300, he probably pays off on FanDuel. So, maybe you get a little bit more out of him, but he's not safe. But I do like him. He's not horrible. If you're in that price range, even Matt Kenseth's worth taking a stab, or even Austin Dillon. You're not asking much you're asking the same out of Austin as you're asking out of Newman. Newman's been decent, so I could see you going there, but I don't know if I trust him for cash, but I could definitely see you playing Newman for sure.
Yes, Tri-G Shenander asks, Christopher Bell, GPP thoughts?
Yeah, like I said, I crushed with him last week, got him at 15% because he was the most expensive guy on the slate. He needed probably a top 10 to pay off, and he went out and got me 4th. So, that's where he crushed. I think he's going to garnish more ownership this week. I don't think it's going to be astronomical. You'll probably get him in that 20 to 25% range. So, again, he's worth taking that stab at that price. But then, you're taking the safe place differential. You're going to have to pay down for your 1 to 2 dominators. So, you can't say, okay, you can't take him and Harvick, or you can't take him and Kyle Busch, or him and Denny Hamlin and be able to do very much unless you get like 2 really good, cheap of those value plays that hit for you, then maybe you could do that. But, I like it. I think he's going to garnish some ownership because of that 4th place, but then he crushed everybody on Sunday. So, it's 50-50. He's like Ricky Stenhouse to me this week. So I'm going to have a good piece of him, but, I don't think you have to be crazy.
Gotcha. Anthony Vaughn asks, after Harvick and Hamlin, what other 2 drivers do you like the most?
To win the race, something like that, I like Kyle Busch, even Keselowski, Logano. These other guys all in that, 9 and up price. It's like you could take one safe piece from up here, something like you said, like a Harvick or Hamlin, and then you're going to get different with your other piece. Joey Logano to lead the race at $9,200. I like that. Clint Bowyer is deep enough in the field that he goes out, gets me in the top 10. I like him. And even Keselowski, like I said, Penske owns Indianapolis. This is where he wants to win. This is what he wants to do. So, and all those drivers have been good. So that's what you've got in this range. And then, like I said, even Chase Elliott, like starting 10th, if you're gonna get him at low ownership, you're gonna want to try to take a piece. If I can get Elliott at 10-15%, I like that because he's been fast. So that's where I think you're gonna try to get different with the rest of these guys. One kind of safe and one different piece, I think, if you're going to be spending up.
Gotcha. OS has thoughts on Joey dropping back after competition caution at lap 12.
That's what you're afraid of. So I think if he's leading the race, he gets out and he has the first 10, 12 laps, like I could see them staying out. To lead some more, or if the entire field comes in, people are going to get different. But I think it's going to be some of these smaller teams that are going to try to get really different. So even if they pit, it hurts him a little bit because you're not going to hopefully get 20, 25, 30 straight and then let him finish where he is. But even with a competition caution, I don't think that they would fall much. Like if he pits, most of the field's going to pit behind him to try to stay on his strategy. So you might have 10, 12 drivers that were deeper in the field that stayed out. And he started restarting 10th, 12th. It's going to take him, 10, 15 laps at most to get back to the front, and they've got enough gas to get to the end of the stage. So if they pit at that caution, I believe they'd be pretty close to being able to get to the end of the stage and try to go for the stage points. Or they're going to try to stay out and go for the race win, where you can get on a shorter pit strategy and get a little bit different than these other people, and then the cautions fall your way. So, either way, he's got a shot. So, I do like him.
Greg McGee asks, can you use Joey Logano for cash for DK or Bubba Wallace?
You can play Logano for cash. I would put him in my cash build because, like I said, the pole sitter usually gets 20 to 25 laps led. If I get that out of him in a top 5 finish, he pays off, and he's completely capable. Bubba Wallace, he's cheap. I don't know if I put Bubba in my cash on DK. There's some safer options under him. We're at Bubba Wallace 17th. Ty Dillon, I think, is a little bit safer. Chris Busch is $500 cheaper and safer. Cole Custer $700 and safer. And like I said, even these Ryan Priestes and stuff like that. So I like Bubba because I don't think he's gonna be crazy owned because of where he's starting. And if, like I said, the rest of your lineup's safe, and you're gonna have to get different somewhere, and the different piece is gonna have to work out. So I can see you going there. I don't hate it, but I don't think that's gonna be the most popular option on cash, but I can see him getting either 10-15% potentially.
And that Hill and Allgaier to the rear.
Yeah, so that you can easily, if you're playing Allgaier now, just completely X him out. If he's getting scored from 4th, let me double check, see if they updated it. There's no qualifying, so depends on what they score him as. If they score him from the rear, then you can play him, but you see in Jimmy Johnson's equipment, but
are you looking at it up? OS asks, would you use Logano in a single entry GPP?
Yeah, you can get there. Like I said, for him, you're hoping for that 20 to 25 laps led. So, yeah, I can see you going there.
You're just looking up if he's going to be scored from?
Yeah, he's still being scored from 4th on there, so.
Yeah. But, Anthony Vaughn asked thoughts on this lineup. Byron, Harvick, Hamlin, Jones, McDowell, Custer, DraftKings.
1 second. Checking FanDuel here real quick, because I know FanDuel was different last time. They still got him for 4 too. Yeah, just to finish on Allgaier, if he gets scored from the rear, take him because he's got solid equipment. But he's going to be scored from 4th, you can X him out. Let me look at that lineup again. Byron, Harvick, Hamlin, Jones, McDowell, and Custer. I don't hate it. I mean, Byron's deep enough, 18th. He's in good equipment. Harvick, Hamlin, that was what got you there last week. Eric Jones, he should be able to get you there. Mike McDowell, Cole Custer, I like it. If you're playing really heavy at the top like you did with Harvick and Hamlin, the Jones, McDowell, Custer pieces are pretty safe. So I can see you getting there for sure with that. I like it.
Gotcha. The DFS Pope as Kyle Busch. Thoughts on Kyle Busch finally getting off the train wreck or holding on?
That's what you're getting from him, man. It's oh man, he was crushing people. He's been crushing people. He's ripping people's souls out, and then jumping up and down on them, and then throwing them back. We thought he was going to get there on Sunday before he got wrecked. So I don't know, man. You're going to get him at low ownership, and Kyle Busch at 15%, 15 to 20%. That's huge difference makers in tournaments. So like I said, you're going to have to go there on some lineups, but again, it's how much trust is. I could see him hitting that 20, and if you're playing mass entry, it's do you trust him and go 30, or do you not trust him and go 10? You're going to have a piece of him, because if he does go hit, you need to have a shot at it. But yeah, I don't think you have to go crazy with him. And it just sucks to be saying that about Kyle Busch, but Kyle Busch is Kyle Busch. He could win this race, so you're going to have to get a piece of him. But man, it's always scary to play him. It's like playing Ricky Stenhouse again.
He says he's got 40% of them in a 20 max.
That's trust. I don't hate it. Like I said, it's if he goes out there and leads 30, 40 laps at his price tag and wins this race or something like that, he's going to pay off. So, and if you got 40%, that just means you got, way more chances of getting that right lineup right to get to the top. So yeah, like I said, if you're getting 40% of him, I don't hate it. I think I ended up at like 25 or 30. I took a little bit of a stand on the over just because I love him. Like, he's a good driver, so he's got to get there at some point.
Yeah. But that looks like it's all for questions.
Yeah, so a couple new guys chime in that just came in. So, hop in these with you got questions, man. If you missed anything in the beginning, don't hesitate to throw something in there, and I'll do my best for you.
Yeah, we'll give it a couple more minutes just so just in case someone's bringing up a question right now. But yeah, if you need, always come over, check out everything. I got CK doing KBO and got NASCAR. We got golf. NBA and NHL will be back soon. Yes. Hopefully it stays that way. And MLB will be coming up shortly. Again, hopefully, as long as nothing changes. But yes. OSS, who's your pick to win the race? Your favorite question of every week.
Favorite pick to win the race. Look at the odds here. I mean, you look at starting position and you look at the way that they've been, probably Hamlin and probably not Hamlin and Truex, Hamlin and Harvick probably be the safest. Their odds are horrible, like 250. I think the Hamlin's at plus 350, and I think Harvick's at plus 350. I think Hamlin's plus 450. If you want these guys to win the race, you're throwing like a 50 spot at it to win like 200. You want to get a little bit different. Eric Amarola starting fifth. You could take a stab at that. Probably, I think he's over 1,000 there. Let me check it out. So we can pull it up real fast for you guys. Yeah, I live in New Jersey, so I get to play DraftKings Sportsbook every week. I wish I played more. I should. Keselowski's, Hamlin's, those guys are going to be probably, you're playing these other guys just almost strictly for the odds. These guys have a shot. You get Chase Elliott at plus 1,000 to win the race. You can throw $10 at that, win $100. You don't hate that. Truex plus 1,400 is good. Eric Amarola, Clint Bowyer plus 2,800, plus 3,000. Like, you could throw if you're, just playing small, throw 5 or 10 spot at something like that and see if it sticks. MDB plus 6,600. I think you could get a little crazy with that. Or even somebody like Ryan Newman at plus 10,000. You throw $1 at that to win $100. Like, you don't cry when you lose $100, but you do backflips when you win $100 on $1. So it's probably the last of what I would do there. The rest of that stuff would be garbage, but you could take a shot with somebody like that at really, really good odds.
Gotcha. Greg McGee, I don't know if it's a question or just probably a question. He had Kowalski, Logano, Pierce. It says Pierce, but Priest.
It's your boy Priest,
Newman,
man. You know that.
Yeah. Priest, Newman, and Hamlin.
I don't hate it. That's a pretty, I guess that's a safe 3 dominator build. You're going to need all 3 of those guys to get you something, probably to get you there. Keselowski, Logano, you're hoping he leads it early in the race. Keselowski maybe on some strategy gets a handful. Hamlin, again, he needs a piece. You're hoping that for that lineup to pay off, it's not bad, but you're looking at like you want 3-4 guys to be leading 20, 30 laps. And that's doable here. And we've seen it before. With all the studs starting in the front, I think that's got a better shot of happening than we do of somebody leading 150 laps. Because we have some drivers that don't qualify well here or have seen issues after qualifying and had to start from the rear. And with only 2 guys starting from the rear, which is, Allgaier and I think Balicki. I can't remember. It was somebody posted it in here. But, with those guys starting so deep already anyways. Like, why? Like, this is good. Like I said, that's why I said I don't think somebody's going to lead 150 laps here. So that's why I like that. If you're going to go 3 dominator build, solid core. Yeah.
Gotcha. Brian Klusman asks, Byron or Bowyer?
Boyer's safer. Byron's, you're getting him cheaper and, only a few spots different. So, like I said, you don't have to get crazy with him. Byron at $8,700 and Bowyer at $9,000. Yeah, Boyer's safer. Byron could still do it too.
Gotcha. Anthony Vaughn, Priest and Logano or Custer and Byron?
Priest and Logano's way safer, but Custer and Byron's not bad either. You could do that as well. Like if you're trying to get off of probably chalk ass Bowyer, I could see you going with Byron. If you get that price range. And same thing with Priest and Logano it's super safe. Priest is just so deep. You want to play him, but he's not accident prone or not accident free. So, he gets 25. He ends up finishing in the 30s because he wrecks. Like he's going to crush people at 20, 25, 30%. So, that's what you're hoping for him. You're playing Custer and Byron. You're hoping Priest wrecks, and Logano does not lead the front of this beginning of this race. And, you're going to get different right there. And that, like I said, that could pay off for sure.
Getcha. But that's all caught up, all that. But give it one more minute. But let's hope for a good week for you so that way you can
go buy a new laptop tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. So that way. That. Well, yeah, I was going to say hospital bills, but the laptop's more important at this point.
Man. This thing's killing me.
It's twice the bills will be there, but the new laptop won't be.
Exactly. So, yeah, we got 67 of you guys watching. It says, thank you guys. Like I said, as Clint said early in the show, man, give us that like button, subscribe. We're here every week for every race. I had a kid 3 days ago, and I'm still here. So what do I do for the Wise Take Nation? You've got to come check us out, man. WiseTake.com. There's the day pass options. We give you the show for free, but I've got cheat sheets. I've got projections. We've got our Wise Take model that's been successful. Like I said, we crushed last week. It's with these tournaments, it's just getting rid of that right piece of chalk and keeping that right piece that's it works. So, you got to come check us out, man. It's well worth it, man. You got Clint, PGA guy. He's my LOL guy. No, you're my Counter-Strike CS:GO guy. Like, I talk to you every week about that, man. And so, like, we're one big family, man. You got to come check us out. It's dope.
But that looks like it's about it. So we're gonna wrap up the show here. If you have any other questions, you can obviously ask Tom in the Y6 app. Hit him up on Twitter at kartracing_22. But for everybody that joined us, thank you for joining us. Like and subscribe, and hope you all win this week. Good luck and peace out.
Peace.
Yeah.